estamos, para que todos sepan. What's up, mi gente? It's your host of Aqui Estamos. It's your boy Marco Rojas, and I want to thank everyone who is taking their time to listen to today's podcast, and so that we can talk about different issues. However, I wanted to use the first episode to talk about what's going to happen in 26 days. Y'all already know what it is. It is the election. And I'm not just talking presidential. I'm talking about all elections, from state senate, assembly members to mayor, all this stuff. There's a lot of things going on. And here's the thing. This goes deeper than the presidential election. This goes deeper than the debates by both presidents and vice presidents that they've been having on TVs. We really need to see our communities, nuestras comunidades, how they'll be impacted as a whole. And we have seen it for the past 7 months, how our communities have been rocked by COVID. COVID has been killing us, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt about that. And that's why it's important that we put people in charge that really care about our people. So we'll be talking about COVID. We're talking about communities that have been rocked by housing. We're going to be talking about communities. Our communities have been impacted by occupation. Hard to find these things. So it's vital to know who is representing us with our best interests, not theirs, our best interests. So let's go ahead and take some time to talk about this. So check this out, everyone. We're literally in October. Today's October 8th. And I'm literally thinking about how 2020 has really played out for everyone. You know. And the crazy thing about this, and I'm just being real here, you guys, like when you guys listen to these episodes, it's just me being authentically honest as possible. The crazy thing about all this is that we are literally 7 months in when the pandemic hit here. I mean, I'm actually calling it as when things shut down, right? I mean, the first cases were reported probably, I believe, in February or March, or early March. But I just remember, man, I was on a family trip, you know, my wife, you know, and the rest of the fam. And I can only think about how crazy it's been since then. Like, we were in San Diego, so I flew down there by myself. And I was just thinking, like, wow, like, we're not really taking this serious. Everybody that was in the plane, first of all, you know, I was messed up, ready to go. I was like, I'm not even taking the chance. But everybody was just like, nah, this isn't a big thing. Don't worry about it. That was in March. Now we're on October 8th. Yeah, you're seeing more people with masks, but they're still not taking it as serious. And, you know, you got conspiracy theorists saying that, oh, this was the Democrats doing this or Republicans doing this. Whoever it is, like, it's here now, and it's been here, and it's impacting families. So the fact that we just brush it to the side, come on, y'all, like, we have to be more sympathetic to that and empathetic as well, because we know family members that got it, that had it, and have died from it. And, you know, I'm reaching out to mi gente. I'm reaching out to everyone that's listening to this. And it's like, all right, we need to see, okay, we know we're 1 month away. Not even 1 month. We're 26 days away from the election. And we really need to think about, okay, who has the best interest for us? And yeah, like, the reason why I brought up March and this trip to San Diego, because it's like from March to now, it is still the similar reactions. Like, we're not taking it serious. So I was doing a little research on my own, and I came across some numbers, and I just felt like, you know, this is something we really need to talk about. Because according to saludamerica.org, they said that Latinos and Black people together comprise Latinos and black people together comprise of 55% of coronavirus cases. 55%. And that's nearly double the U.S. population makeup. And that was in June 15th of 2020. But as of October 7th of this year, as of October 7th, check these numbers out. Utah is 14% Latino. 14%. But they make up 30.7% of COVID-19 cases. Oregon is 13% Latino, but they make up 38% of COVID-19 cases. Washington, 13% Latino, and they make up 41%. So what we are realizing that it is affecting our gente. And the question is, what are we doing, number one, to prevent the spread? And number two, who are we going to put in charge that has the best interest of us? And it's crazy because it's like, I'm trying to think of the logistical ways. We're listening to debates. We were talking about, I was bringing up the debates the other day with my wife, and crazy thing is like they kept bringing up, the U.S. making up 4% of the world's population, but we had the 20% of the deaths, which is crazy too. And then we got Biden and Trump fighting each other, saying one has no plan. Trump's response says, well, if we would have done your plan, it wouldn't have been great either, and more people would have died. The only thing that I had an issue with too was the continuous response of, number one, Trump just continuing to blame China. Like, yes, we know that it started there, but you're continuing to blame. Well, guess what? We still have the serious issue here. Literally, the serious issue is here at the end of the day. It's not going anywhere. Blaming anybody isn't going to do any good. We have to handle it now. And then in the debate yesterday with Kamala Harris and Vice President Pence, they literally were talking about how like they're so close to having a vaccination, which and some people want to hear. That's some good news. But we still need to know how effective it is, and is this going to stop the spread as well, And I was just like, these debates are literally just an attack match on both sides. I felt like yesterday's debate was better, though. Literally the first debate, man, I was cracking up because I was like, man, these two really are going at each other. But for mi gente que está oyendo ahorita, who's listening right now, like to really think about the severity of COVID-19. We need to really think about, okay, who has the best interest in our people, in us overall? Because anybody can say, oh, well, you don't want to just vote for people that just going to help your people, but you want to help everyone. Yeah, in a way. But if you look at these numbers, we are heavily affected. So we need to really have somebody that's looking out for our comunidades. Because if not, we're going to see numbers like this. We're going to see in the future how, if a disease, God forbid, spreads again, it's going to affect us to this rate as well. Because 55% of coronavirus cases are between Latino and black people. To me, that's just mind-boggling, guys. Now, does a politician have all the right answers? No. But we have to trust the politicians to basically have the right people in their team to lead the way. Okay? That's just what it is. Because of what we're seeing right now, we're not heading that direction. Numbers are still high. Deaths are still coming along. And, that's just what the reality is. And it's alarming, but, we have to move forward and find, we have to be really cognizant of this election. Who's going to take who's going to take consideration of our gente, you know, because if you continue to name blame, oh, well, it's China's fault, or, oh, if we would have done this, or no, we are here and we are now, you know. And the debate talked about so many different things outside of COVID-19, but that was something I did want to talk about because COVID-19 is still relevant, you know, as a teacher, you know. Just give you guys a little background information about me, your host, guys. I am a teacher. I'm a high school teacher, and I'm very alarmed on how our education is heading, because it's like one of those things where COVID-19, we still have no direction. We don't know what's going on. All I know is we distance learning this whole time. And, you know, I'm still, you know, waiting for, okay, what's the next move? Like, what is best for our students at the end of the day? Because COVID-19 isn't just killing us, it's setting us behind also in education. Students are failing, resources aren't there. So that's something alarming as well that we need to consider, you know. But, you know, we really just need to think about, okay. And this goes deeper. Like I said, I was telling earlier, it's like this goes deeper than presidential, vice president elections or whatever, you know, or debates, I'm sorry. Like, at the end of the day, we have to think about nuestras comunidades. What does that look like? That means our city council. Does our city council hear us? Does our city council want the best of us? And right now, just talking about education, does our board of our board of trustees, do they care about us? Are they going to fight for our resources? Because that's going to be important as well. What about state Senate, state assembly members? Like, we throw those all those under the rug because we think, oh, all we've got to worry about is presidential election, and that's false. We need to think about nuestras comunidades. What about our propositions? Prop 15, schools and community first. How that's going to help impact and bring resources back to our schools and communities. But people on the other side are going to argue, oh, well, you're just going to raise taxes. And that's the thing, is like they're going to give false information. Raise taxes. What is that supposed to look like? Raise taxes for whom? Not for us. We're residential owners. But we're tired of big businesses coming in and taking our resources as well. Not paying their fair share, you know. So I was always thinking, always know your propositions and really mindfully go into these elections with your own research. Now, I ain't going to tell you how to vote. Nope. But I want to make sure que todos nosotros, we keep in mind that our communities matter. And it all starts with the ballot. All right, so, you know, we just got done talking about COVID-19 cases and all that. And, you know, we can go so much deeper into it. But, you know, I bet you guys are now thinking, okay, Marco, I know we got to bring this into, you know, our considerations as we are voting and, you know, bringing these worries into the ballot. But, you know, there's more to it. And we got to understand our comunidades are hurting. And another issue that is hurting too because of COVID-19 is housing. And what I mean by housing, I'm talking about rent, guys. I'm talking about housing as in like paying not only your utilities, but paying your actual rent. Because you guys know during the pandemic, workers, families, businesses, and communities all have experienced enormous financial difficulties. They have. You know, it's not the same times right now, you know, the economy and this and that. Like, it's hard right now. I know that I'm blessed in the situation that I am because I'm still able to teach, but I know I'm putting myself in that situation of what if I lost my job, because there's so many people that have. And, you know, you got to give it to the farm workers. You got to give it to the families that have lost everything due to this crisis. And, you know, according to the newsroom.ucla.edu, A new study estimates that more than 1.9 million adults in California are unable to pay their rent on time. And this was recorded in early July. So in early July, 1.9 million adults can't even pay their rent. So that's something like that's got me thinking like, man, housing is for real. Like, we don't take in consideration the blessings that we have a roof on our head, because it's like, man, being able to just come home, a place of sanctuary, now has affected us overall because we can't even afford it. And, they also find out that the blacks and Latinos are particularly vulnerable. And they show that minority renters are suffering more because of the economic downturn of this pandemic. So we know people of color are being affected, ladies and gentlemen. And, housing is legit. And we know that lower income individuals are being affected. So we really need to think about, okay, this goes deeper than presidential elections. Now we are saying, okay, who are we going to help, or who are we going to put in charge so we can help with these issues? Because at times we're like, man, we don't know what to do. We're like, oh, well, president got to do this and that. And at some point, yes, he has power to do and leverage, as well as Congress. But now we have to look at our own counties and say, okay, what can counties do? Because I know in this election, some county board members are up for election. And we have to ask those questions. Yo, do they got the best interest for us? And that's legit. That is seriously legit. Like, we need to understand, like, we got to get out of our little privileged worlds. Everybody, I'm talking to those that, are not affected as individuals, as a family, where you still have income coming in, you're still able to pay your bills, you're still able to pay your rent. And, this is now something that we really need to think about. Okay, how can we overall help those that are marginalized? Because we know that Latinos overall are impacted much more. Well, here in San Joaquin, is where I live. I'm from San Joaquin County. And we know that Latinos are impacted much more. And it's crazy because we make up a huge portion of the county. And the fact that we're still struggling to address this issue, to help our people, we need to find out, okay, who do we go into and start talking to about these issues, and who do we put in certain places, whether that's county board members, city council members, so on and so forth, so that they can receive the help that they need. And what we're seeing is that more and more people are coming out and addressing these issues. I give it out to all the organizers, all the community organizer activists out there, because this is such an issue that is played under the table. It's not really an issue that's highly talked about. Housing, my wife is a community organizer, and she tells me every day the grind and the pain that the families feel. The essential workers that have to be out there in the battlegrounds every day. And, here in the Central Valley, we're talking about wildfires. We're talking about the pandemic. They're battling two huge issues. And yet they're still dying out here because of the viruses, because of the inhalation of smoke and all that. And not only that, now they're struggling just because of high prices of housing, so on and so forth. And it's hard because what hurts me is that I'm speaking it from a perspective of somebody that, I'm just being real right now, like in a privileged situation, and we need to really account for our privilege. And I'm talking to even Latinos, our privilege. I'm talking about our citizen privilege that we have, the privilege that we're able to still being able not to be persecuted because of our our status of citizenship, or we're not being persecuted of, home, that housing, so on and so forth. Like, these are things that we need to speak up and represent our marginalized group. Porque mi gente, it's one thing is we have, ICE terrorizing our communities, but now we have a global pandemic and environmental disasters that are coming in and taking us out as well. And it's scary. It really is scary, So, we need to really talk about how these marginalized groups are being affected so much by whether it's high pricing of homes, how families are sharing homes because they can't afford rent, so they're living with one another, so the spread goes that way. Even the parties, man, even those fiestas that we're having. We were in graduation season, we were in summer, and we seen it. The fiestas were still going on, and the spread happened as well. And we have to hold each other accountable too, because we don't want to spread this, because we know, I'm telling you, we know by the numbers already that we are affected. And it's so important that we as a whole take accountable of our actions as well and continue pushing forward with this horrific disease. I don't want to just end it there because, we're talking about issues that has impacted nuestra gente. We got COVID-19, we got housing that has impacted our comunidades. But check this out, not to even make things even worse here in the U.S. According to pewsresearch.org, U.S. Latinos among hardest hit by pay cuts, ladies and gentlemen, job losses due to coronavirus. Now, we aren't just dealing with a huge increase of COVID-19 cases and deaths that makes up our number, right? We're not also talking about how expensive housing has made it even harder to afford homes. And now we're sharing and renting with other people, which is now spreading the disease. Now we're dealing with occupation. We're talking about how much money we're bringing into the table. And we also see that 49% of Latinos say that they know someone in their household that basically took a pay cut or they lost their job, And when they did the study, this was around the end of March. So, it's been a few months, right? But if we look at it holistically, we're still seeing similar issues. Now, certain things has rebounded, that's of course, but if we look at COVID-19 and we look at how everything truly transpired, what we will see, ladies and gentlemen, lo que miramos is that familias will do whatever it takes to support their family. And, nothing but respect to that. There's no doubt about that. But what we're seeing is they're willing to do whatever it takes to not lose their jobs, whether that's taking pay cuts. And if they have to, if they do lose their jobs, we see our gente hustling out there. And it's hard to see because, like I said, I'm talking it from a perspective that I know I'm in a privileged situation. And I'm going to acknowledge that even as a Latino, that I see everything from this lens. And it's just like, man, I give them credit because they are doing whatever it takes, because at the end of the day, familia matters. And if, I'm not saying that not every ethnic background is like that. No, I know. But, that's one thing that when I see my familia, when I see mi gente, that's what they do. That's what motivates them. That's what gets them up every morning, is to provide for their familia. And, that's all credit to that. But with that, we're seeing huge number of increases of COVID-19. but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they need to provide for their family. So now we have to look at a standpoint of, it was crazy because I remember I went out with a few pastors, and I went out with a few leaders of churches, and we went out to the campesinos, the fields, and what we saw was a lot of workers out there, a lot of Latinos out there, and the grape winery and all that. And what we seen, ladies and gentlemen, was a lot of them weren't protected as well because they didn't have the resources. And so when we went out there, we were providing all that stuff. So the question started coming down to is, are these farm owners or any of these business leaders or these business owners, are they providing the adequate resources or even resources they need so that they don't contract any virus or disease that can harm their families, harm their loved ones, And that's one thing that we've noticed, is like, man, had we not showed up, and I'm not saying, talking about like we're this glorious organization that we were providing all this stuff. No, we just went out there because we wanted to do it, but we would have never expected that they weren't provided some type of resources. So that really alarmed us, But overall, with, the occupation issues that we're dealing with, that we're seeing firsthand basis, it's like, let's just go back to March, right? Let's go back to when everything shut down. Obviously, you knew Latinos were going to be impacted the most. And why do I say that? Because you saw hotels close, so the hotel workers lost their jobs. You saw restaurants close, and there's a lot of Latino workers there. These closed down, and now we saw how it affected overall the economy. And ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You affect the Latinos, you do affect the economy, because we do make up a huge portion of the economy. So it's important that we see our Latinos and we see our gente as essential workers to this day, because if we don't, we're going to see another economic crisis, because the moment Latinos are affected, the country is affected. Yo, I just want to give a major shout out to those that are listening to today's episode of Aqui Estamos, the importance of the election. I also want to give a major shout out to my family, to all my homies out there that was supporting me through this process. I got nothing but love for you guys. So tune in for the next episode, y'all. Much love. Aquí estamos para que todos sepan.